What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Buckeyes Battle Cry. As you saw in the title, today we're previewing the Ohio State Buckeyes offense for this 2024 season. A lot of talent coming back, high expectations in Columbus for this offensive unit, and we'll get to talking about who the stars are going to be, who QB1 is going to be, and just an overall general preview of what to expect from this Buckeye offense this year. Now, everybody knows Ryan Day is an offensive-minded coach. This is who he is. He came in, obviously, was Ohio State's offensive coordinator under Meyer in 17 and 18 and led them to even higher heights than Meyer led them offensively. Under Day, in 4 out of the 5 years, Ohio State has been in the top 5 in the nation in points per game and in yards per game. Absolutely laying waste to the dregs of the Big Ten and putting up video game numbers, just insane numbers for quarterbacks. Now, of course, that all dipped last year under Common Core, where we actually finished 46th in the nation, averaging just 30.5 points per game under the direction of Common Core at quarterback. So things definitely took a step back in 2023, and looking to right the course, of course, bringing in Chip Kelly to kind of right that ship and get things back on track to being a top 5 offense in the nation again. Lots of talent and players to look forward to in this upcoming season. Of course, the healthy return of Emeka Egbuka. He has the chance to become Ohio State's all-time leading receiver in yards. If he gets 1,042 yards, he'll break a 22-year-old record set by Michael Jenkins back in the national championship season in 2002. And then, of course, everybody's drooling about the freshman, the true freshman, J.J. Smith. He has a man's body. He is not coming in looking like a high schooler. He's coming in ready to produce right out the gate. And then, of course, Carnell Tate, he had about 450 yards receiving last year as a wide receiver 2 and 3 option for the Buckeyes. Now he'll step up in the slot receiver option, looking to continue his success. Brandon Ennis, another effective guy who got limited playing time last year, but is definitely going to have an increased role with Marvin Harrison out of the way now in the receiving room. And then, of course, you have guys like Mylan Graham, Jaden Ballard, out of Massillon, Ohio, looking to produce for the first time in their Buckeyes career. Obviously, those guys are at different ends of their careers for Ohio State. But will the speedster Ballard ever break through? Or will the youngsters kind of take his spot? We're going to find out this year for sure. Everybody's excited about the two-headed monster in the backfield, of course, with Trevion Henderson. Returns for 3,300 yards, 37 touchdowns in his Ohio State career. Obviously been hampered by injuries. He would have a lot more yards than that for sure. And then, of course, the transfer, Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss. He also brings 3,000 yards rushing and 34 touchdowns to the room. So we got that lightning and thunder kind of the 1-2 punch that they're going to be interchangeable throughout the season. It's going to be very hard to stop if the offensive line can get their act together and block well in the run game in the short yardage situations. Now, before we get to the offensive line, there's a lot to discuss there, a lot to dissect, and there's a lot of angst in Buckeye Nation about what the offensive line will or won't be. But before we get to him, let's obviously talk about the transfer quarterback, everybody's favorite to be QB1, coming out of this fall camp, the transfer from Kansas State, of course, Will Howard. Now, Will Howard had a kind of an up-and-down career at Kansas State, certainly less offensive talent to work with, and certainly less less talented offensive lines to protect as well. But he brings a different element to the offense that we haven't seen since Justin Fields. He can run the ball, and he reportedly had an 80-yard touchdown run in practice the other day as well, but he's clearly separated himself as QB1 through the first week and a half of practice. It's clearly he's going to be the starter. Like, there's just no question about that at this time in fall camp. It has not been named by Day, but everything I'm reading, everything that's reporting coming out of camp, Will Howard is virtually a lock for the #1 quarterback spot for the Ohio State offense this year. The battle for number 2, obviously the backup. Sometimes they're the most favorite player on the team. All the fans' favor, Devin Brown and Julian Sayin are fighting out for QB2. It's an intense, heated battle. Many expected Devin Brown to transfer, but he's stuck with it because that's who he is. He's a coach's son. He's got a competitive spirit, and he was told to never quit, never give up. And I salute that and I respect that about him. He's also had a lot of injuries in his career here at Ohio State so far. And so things will be interesting. Who is going to separate themselves in the QB2 spot? Because it's very clear and evident Will Howard is definitely going to be the Buckeyes starter this year. Will he perform up to expectations above Kyle McCord? That is the question. Obviously, McCord left for Syracuse. And, you know, I'm of the mantra, once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye. And so I will follow his career at Syracuse. But that's getting beside the point. Will Howard brings an escapability and a confidence in the pocket. And from what I'm gathering, he has really gained the trust of the locker room. And that has been a big factor in separating himself to be quarterback one as well. Now, the pressure of playing quarterback at Ohio State always is present. It's ever present. Kyle McCord did not seem to have the calm demeanor and the confidence that he instilled in his players around him or in his coaches. And Will Howard seems to be the complete opposite of that, personality-wise and just leadership-wise. He's a big talker in the locker room. He's starting to talk a lot of junk, apparently, on the field, and that's a sign of a confident quarterback. So I'm excited to see what he can do. He apparently struggles with the deep ball a little bit in practice and in games I've watched of him at Kansas State, but he's been the most consistent in the intermediate and short passing game, and he needs to be a distributor, not necessarily to the extent of just a game manager. No, an Ohio State quarterback needs to make plays. That's very clear in the Ryan Day, Chip Kelly offense. But I think Will Howard will be an upgrade. I think he'll be a step up from Kyle McCord. And if that is the case, my goodness, watch out. This offense is definitely going to be back in the top 10 for scoring offense and yards per game. Now addressing the offensive line. My goodness, this has caused so much angst and consternation in the offseason, especially coming off the Mizzou Bowl game. I kind of write that off. Yes, they had a month to prepare for defense, but they were constantly shifting lines and trying new things. There were some things going on behind the scenes on some podcasts that caused some player punishment, caused to do a lot of shifting for the offensive line up front. What we know is this for sure about the O-line. From left tackle to center is almost assuredly locked in. It's going to be Josh Simmons at left tackle. He improved mightily throughout the season last year, and I think was a second team or third team All Big Ten player. Donovan Jackson is a stud. He's a guaranteed first-round pick. He's got that lockdown position at left guard for sure. Now, the interesting battle is Seth McLaughlin, we brought in through the transfer portal, or Carlos Hintzman, who got in trouble for what he did on the podcast last year and got benched for the bowl game in the Cotton Bowl versus Mizzou. So it's going to be McLaughlin, who has documented snapping issues in both the Texas and in the Michigan game last year, and I'm sure many other games I didn't consume. Possibly Auburn as well. Or will it be Hintzman that wins that battle? So what I've heard is kind of mixed signals. Hintzman and McLaughlin taking snaps, but it seems like left tackle to center is almost assuredly locked in. And our right tackle is assuredly locked in. Josh Fryer was the highest graded PFF offensive lineman in Ohio State last year. And that's really hard to believe because our memories of his last two games versus Michigan and Missouri were atrocious, but he was our highest graded offensive lineman last year, which is quite a shock. But he's definitely locked down that right tackle position. Now, right guard, I've heard nobody has emerged. Is it going to be Chabola? Is it going to be Mikowski? We're going to find out. That's a huge position because in the Chip Kelly offense, offensive line means so much, especially with the offensive scheme shifting a little bit. Ohio State, I'm sure, is not going to go fully away from what has appeared to be a somewhat pass-heavy offense at times. But if you actually look at the statistics, we're a very balanced offense. We just do struggle in short yardage situations. That has been clear. That has been evident. That has been documented by our rivals and by our own fans. And so, can we start winning the battles in the trenches on 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 3s, 4th and 1s? It's going to be a huge part of the season. It's going to be a talking point all season. So with Chip Kelly coming in, the big question on Ohio State fans' minds are, is Day going to trust his mentor, Chip Kelly, and allow him to fully call the offense and delegate? Now, he said all the right things in the offseason, but he also said these same things in the last offseason when Brian Hartline, he took over clearly throughout the season and in key moments in games. Will he trust his mentor, Chip Kelly? And if he can't, well, I don't think he'll ever trust anybody because that's his dude. That's his guy right there. So the big thing is, obviously, Chip Kelly, known for the read option offense. You know, he was dynamite in his offenses when he took over for the Oregon Ducks, I think from 2009 to 2013 or something like that. Their offenses were explosive in the top 5 every year. And Ohio State has the expectation of being the top 5 every year of offense. And the Buckeyes, man, they got to step back up to what they fell off the map last year. They need to really take that direction. And it's going to be interesting to see how the Buckeyes come out this season. The first 5 games aren't that difficult, except for the Iowa Hawkeyes defense. They'll challenge us before we go to face the Oregon Ducks in Eugene. But with all the weapons and all the tools that Will Howard and this offense have to utilize, I fully expect this unit to be a top 5 unit in the country. They certainly have the accolades to do it. The receiving room is loaded. The dual threat back there with Quinshawn and Travion, it's going to be explosive. They're going to make some big plays. They might have some hiccups from time to time, but it will be interesting to note what the run-pass balance is going to be, because sometimes many people think that Ohio State has been a pass-heavy offense. And yeah, we have put up video game numbers for our quarterbacks, but we have been a very balanced offense. We just struggled in those short yardage situations. Now, will the offensive line continue to struggle in those situations this year? Under Kelly and Day's direction, we will see. It's going to be really fascinating to see how the Buckeye offense responds to falling off the cliff last year. So in conclusion, I expect this Buckeye offense to be elite again, matching the defensive performance, and they have the chance to do some really special things this season offensively. And I think we're going to see a different type of offense under the direction of Chip Kelly, because I think Day is fully handing the baton over and becoming more of a CEO coach. He's learning from his mistakes in the past. And so we'll all see, but comment down below, is this a top 5 offensive unit entering the 2024 season? How many points per game are they going to score? What are your expectations for this Buckeye offense? Who's going to be QB1 in your opinion? And yeah, have that in the comments. Discuss away. Go Bucks and God bless. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Have a good night, guys.